Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I just have two short announcements. First is, please make sure that all of your telephones are muted. I know many will want to take photos. That's okay, so long as we don't hear any bells or whistles. That would be appreciated. And the next is, there is no intermission in this program, but feel free, if you need to, just to get up at any time to use the facilities or whatever. Anyway, thank you again so much for coming today. And our first presenter today will be Claudia Trent. Let's go to the center microphone.
Hello, Anine. I'm going to be singing the Strong Woman song. This song meant a lot to Ferne. Ferne and her family and friends also sung this when Ferne was at hospice. So I ask that you please join in with me. The chorus does repeat, and thank you for coming. So the reason why we sing this song to honor Ferne is because she was a very, very strong woman. So thank you very much.
I'm Stephanie Ben, and beside me is Krista English. And we had the honor to be part of Ferne's care team and part of the planning of this celebration of Ferne's life, which has allowed us to continue that care amidst the enormity of our loss and our grief. It's allowed us to stay close and to bear witness together to this awful emptiness, this new life without Ferne. And it has helped steady us despite all that has collapsed and been taken. I wanted to say that I'm pretty sure that Ferne would never have given her approval for this kind of fuss being made, especially over her. But I know if she were standing where we're standing now, she'd acquiesce in the name of love, of family and friendship, and the name of life. Besides, it's kind of her fault for being such an incredible and warm human being. Everything Ferne undertook centered around her love of community, of building community, and of cultivating and celebrating all the miraculous acts of love, connection, creativity, resistance, and solidarity that make community flourish. The meals, the gifts, the visits, the work, and the love that poured into Sophia Street over the past year was an astounding testament to Ferne and Rob's beloved community. They are so loved. In our many years of everyday friendship, Ferne and I likely walked hundreds of miles together through forests and farmland and various misadventures with our dogs. I say this with confidence. We would drop anything just to walk together. During Ferne's first cancer diagnosis, our walking took on a sacredness, like a daily prayer. And despite the chemotherapy, which made her feet heavy and numb and a little awkward, each big, slow step we took affirmed Ferne's insistence to keep living. To the herons, otters, deer, birds, turtles, and amidst the constant joyful song of Jackson's Creek, she declared her intention that she wasn't going anywhere. And miraculously, Ferne's health returned, and I felt I was given a most precious gift, 20 more years with my friend Ferne. But not this time. And not for lack of trying. I found some lines from a Mary Oliver poem called Heavy, and such a good title for a poem about the death of a friend. She writes, "That time I thought I could not go any closer to grief without dying. I went closer, and I did not die. Surely God had his hand in this, as well as friends. Still, I was bent, and my laughter, as the poet said, was nowhere to be found." Ferne is everywhere and in all of the good bits of this life, and there's so much of Ferne here today, in us and around us. Her fingerprints are all over this. To Rob, Gabe, Jonah, you have astounded me with your attention to love and the tenderness of all you've done to honor Ferne, and allow us all to linger together for just one more precious day. Ferne Cristall, presente.
To me, Ferne made the world a better place. It was the small and quiet ways she showed love that made her so exquisite. She remembered people's names. She sent beautiful cards, always using her colorful markers and her beautiful crafted words, and was a master of finding ways to make people feel at ease and special. Ferne believed in feeding people, driving people, talking to people on the phone, sending email check-ins, attending, and visiting. These were not little things. They were quiet things Ferne did. Ferne was the most comfortable in the background, making things right and good for all. I learned so much from watching her and experiencing her love. It's in these ways that I miss Ferne every day. My time with Ferne started with our work on Reframe Film Festival, and it grew in concentric rings from there. The overlap of film, social issues, and community were areas that Ferne flourished. We previewed tens, dozens, zillions of prospects for Reframe for many years, and through that, we developed a loving friendship that I carry with me like a special treasure. I miss her texts. I miss her calls asking me if I can help her pack for a trip. I miss her asking me if I know of an electrician or a plumber or someone who can cover an old family chair. I miss seeing her through the door, sitting at the kitchen table, working on her computer, probably previewing a film, writing a letter of reference, or sending an email to any one of you. I especially miss her and silent pauses in our conversations. At an occasion like this, I was tempted to try to say something big and profound. But my connection with Ferne, my connection with Ferne was really much more about friendship, warmth, fun, laughing, and just the everyday beautiful mess of life.
You. We're going to sing a couple of songs. The first one being I'll Meet You in the Morning by the very prolific gospel song composer Albert Brumley. And the second one, I'm Looking for a Miracle by Jesse Winchester.
You in the morning by the bright riverside, when all sorrow has drifted away. I'll be standing at the portal when the gates open wide, at the close of life's long weary day. I'll meet you in the morning. You in the morning. Meet you in the morning. With the how do you do? Do you do? How do you do? And we'll sit down by the river. By the sit river. Down by the river. And with rapture, old acquaintance renew. You will know me in the morning, know me in the morning, by the smile that I wear, smile that I city that is city built for city built for square. I'll meet you in the morning. Meet you in the morning. With a how do you do? Do you do? How do you do? And we'll sit down by the river. By the river. Down by the river. And with rapture, old acquaintance renew. Know me in the morning, in the morning, by the smile that I wear, smile that I wear, when I meet you in the morning, in the morning, in the morning, in the city that is city built for city built for square.
Are you ready, young Jim?
Oh, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. Now listen to me, doctor, this business that you're in, you must have seen a miracle time and time again. Well, if I can leave a number, the next one that you see, if it ain't too much trouble, doctor, get in touch with me, 'cause I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. Well, listen to me, Reverend, on the praying that you do. I'm sure you've seen a miracle time and time too. Well, I'm a stranger to the church, I'm a little lamb astray, but if you show me a miracle, I'll be there every day, 'cause I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. Well, and I'm looking for a miracle. I'm looking for a miracle. I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. Well, and I'm looking for a miracle. I'm looking for a miracle. I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. Oh, now Thomas was a doubter. He would not understand. He would not believe unless he touched it with his hand. Well, I'm ashamed to say it, but he's a lot like me. I want to believe, but first I gotta see, 'cause I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. Whoa, and I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, wow. I'm looking for a miracle. Oh, wow. I'm looking for a miracle, and I hope it's just a matter of time. And I hope it's just a matter of time. And I hope it's just a matter of time. I'm looking for a miracle.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Katrina. And you may have to bear with me a little bit here. Ferne is my aunt, which feels like such a flimsy word for what she is to me. And so would any word, and so would any poem. But I've made an attempt. The poem is untitled, and it takes the form of a letter to Ferne. I saw a cardinal in a tree, or I thought I did, or I wanted to. A desperate conjuring of red, a berry on a bush, a tuft of snagged sweater fuzz, September bleeding slowly through the leaves. I didn't know she was your favorite until you couldn't have told me yourself, but you told someone you loved, and that someone told me. The female, of course. Her majestic subtlety, unpretentious, elegant. It made me realize how few of your favorites I know. Color, song, flower, tree. Made me second guess the ones I thought I did. Was Moose Tracks your favorite ice cream? Or did we have it every time I came to visit because it's mine? Tell me, what do you love most about them, the cardinals? Is it that they sing duets to each other? Is it that the female is amongst the most vocal of the songbirds? Cardinal, as in fundamental, as in of the greatest importance, as in you hating that I said that. Cardinal, as in direction, as in ironic, as in you and me getting lost walking around the block, as in your knack for finding direction in circularity. Cardinal, as in a hinge, as in joined, as in connected, as in one upon which so many depend. But then, cardinal, as in red robes and tiny hats, cardinal as in system and hierarchy and corruption and so much of what you rail against. Did you know that's who the birds were named after? Obvious, I guess. I wanted to leave that part out, to not tell you, pretend there was only good in this poem, pretend the metaphor was more perfect than it is. But you wouldn't like that. You wouldn't look away. You'd find a way to hold it all. I saw a cardinal in a tree, or I thought I did, and I whispered, "There you are." Don't get me wrong. It's not that I think you've become a bird. It's just that I don't think you haven't. Human, bird, memory, flesh, feather, air. What's the difference? Imagination is enough to take me to the place where your long fingers pluck sour jujubes from a bowl. One of each color. Line them up on the table edge at 1 a.m. beside our Vino Verde spritzers. So many 1 a.m.s. So many problems, mostly mine, warming in the nest of an emptied candy bowl until they hatched. How many people have loved her, do you think? Thousands? Millions? How many now see her red crown and think of someone in particular? My selfish love wants everyone to think of you, but I know you'd like it, the sharing. You'd want to, the way you wanted to share every apple you ever ate. I imagine all of you cardinal lovers pulled together by remembering, seated in a wide circle, everyone sharing their own favorite thing while you listen so intently, you forget to say your own until someone reminds you. I'll keep watching for flashes of red in the trees, keep finding you in birds and berries, threads and turning leaves. Keep finding you when there's a problem to solve. Keep finding you when I'm lonely. I'll keep finding you because you told someone you loved, and that someone told me. Thank you.
Okay, this is a bit difficult. My name is Jamie Swift, and with me is my accomplice, Barbara Emanuel, with whom I worked starting over 45 years ago. A handful of us here first met Ferne in the often chaotic offices upstairs in a mezzanine of a Toronto church hall. St. Paul's Avenue Road United Church was the home for Greenpeace, the Toronto Committee for the Liberation of Southern Africa, and the Toronto Chilean Association. Our outfit was called the Development Education Center. We called ourselves a collective. The RCMP Security Service had different ideas when they spied on us, and they reported in 1976, that was before I met Barbara, that the Development Education Center was a misleading name. Why? Because it gives the impression of being respectable. However, close examination has revealed, note the note of startling exposition, that DEC is in reality, quote, a radical collective of highly political individuals who are predominantly Marxist and seek to promote revolutionary, and then in bracket, nonviolent social change. One of Ferne's Globe and Mail obituaries explained that DEC was rooted in 1960s New Left politics dedicated to fighting inequality. That sounds to me just like the Ferne we came to know and love. Ferne met Rob Clark at DEC. Those two began a remarkable, loving 45-year life together. A sweet blend of a magnetic, outgoing woman with that fellow's, over there, wry and understated nature. Note, wry and understated. Quite the team. DEC's lofty and worthy ideals appealed to Ferne. She flourished at DEC, fitting in perfectly. Ferne had a profound influence on the values that we had and the values that underpinned our little enterprise. As most of us here would know all too well, Ferne was supremely articulate, but also extremely shy, especially about speaking publicly, or indeed being the center of attention in any way. So today we're simply ignoring that as we celebrate her splendid life.
We were all the beneficiaries of her wise counsel. Okay, I'll get there. In our sometimes endless collective musings, she was always there to remind us to consider whose voices were and were not being heard, and would a particular film serve to amplify the voices of people often forgotten or silenced. Sound familiar? She was instrumental in building DEC Films, which was a distribution mechanism for independent filmmakers in Canada and the world beyond. She was, needless to say, a vital part of our democratic enterprise, a mainstay of DEC Films. The publisher Between the Lines, DEC's sole surviving heir, still uses Books Without Bosses as its standout marketing handle. And there's also a graphic book written by our esteemed Rob Clark. Ferne's sojourn into collective organization simply helped to cement the wonderfully open, kind person she was. And we believe those years helped to form a solid foundation for all she would go on to accomplish, both professionally and personally in the years that followed. We all noticed this. Ferne listened deeply, cared totally, said Anita Schulten, a fellow collective member. She believed that teaching ourselves to be better people and to understand more enables us to be the gift that we give others. For Ferne and the rest of us, prefigurative politics meant and still means trying to build organizations that embody the kind of society that we hope to live in. If your activism is already democratic, peaceful, and creative, then in one small corner of the world, these things have triumphed, writes Rebecca Solnit in Hope in the Dark. Ferne was ever hopeful. Hers was an activism that isn't just about changing a world that can seem pretty grim. It means building a home in which to take up residence and to live according to your beliefs, a paradise of participating, a veil where souls get made. Ferne's soul was surely fully formed when she came to us, and we're all the better for it. Thank you.
Check, check, check. On your program, you'll read the background of this song. I found on a scrap of paper scribbled by Woody Guthrie, and it then evolved to this. Ingrid Cristall, let's go make a picture from the wilds of Manitoba. Ingrid Cristall, you're so pretty. You'd make prairie wheat fields quiver. You'd make food fly from the oven. Ingrid Cristall. This old town here, it's been waiting all its life for you to teach it, for your hand to touch its waters. Ingrid Cristall, Ingrid Cristall. If you'll walk across our camera, we will flash the world your story. We will let them know we love you. Ingrid Cristall. Not by pennies, dimes, nor quarters, but with happy sons and daughters, and they'll sing around the Kawarthas. Ingrid Cristall. This old town here, it's been waiting all its life for you to teach it, for your hand to touch its waters. Ingrid Cristall. Ingrid Cristall. Ingrid Cristall. Rob Clark. Thank you.
So from where I'm standing, you basically organize to challenge institutional power. And the creativity of what Colin calls disruptive protest, the peaceful strategies, the persistence, echoes lots of other youth resistance movements over time and over space. But the way you organize, the method of organizing, was really distinct. It was rooted in a kind of love of the community, of the school, of each other. The thing that was distinct, like truly distinct, was the fact that safety and emotional care was at the center of your organizing, of your meetings, of your speeches, of the cross-grade kind of relationships that everybody developed, of what you did. And that is really, I think, made it incredibly successful and incredibly outstanding, like literally standing outside of other things that have been done in youth resistance or adult organizing. I wrote down words that I heard you talk about when you talked about closure. These were the words: cynical, disheartened, angry, voiceless, debilitated, depressed, politically disenfranchised, lack of faith, frustrated, etc. And many of you spoke about hope, and not always in a hopeful way, but often in a complex way, and that I don't even want to go into now. But when I asked everyone, would you do it again, there was a resounding in a heartbeat. Like there was nobody, despite all of that stuff, that said no. I was asking about, if you do it again in a heartbeat, have you done it? What would you do? And you really fell into two kind of camps. And there was sort of, not a split, but a clear division between people who felt that their cynicism towards institutional power and the power of institutions to do bad led people to feel that what they wanted to do was something local, something close, something either to be part of or to build. Communities that offered respect, care, voice, love, creativity, and safety to people who didn't have it. And other people said despite it, the whole effort led them to believe more in organizing, to believe more in becoming part of the political process and sort of jumping into the fray in a bigger way, in a public way, whether it was in a mainstream political way with parties and with political organizations, or in an alternative way in terms of joining movements. And so it sort of made me think in the end, like, what could I draw from that? Like, cynicism loses? That's the question.
Tissues here if you need.
Thanks a lot. Hi, I'm Karen Christie, and I worked with Ferne at PCVS. I think that students and teachers will agree that that grand school was its own living being, and it asked us to be the best that we could be, and we did try, but Ferne arrived like Athena, goddess of wisdom, fully formed. As Cam Douglas said, she was our ethical compass. As I began to think about what I would like to tell you about those years, I realized that I would be telling you about my Ferne, and that seemed unfair, so I got in touch with colleagues and students so that their voices could be heard. My writing started out in sorrow, but it ended in a tsunami of joy, love, laughter, and adoration. Every time I heard from someone, the contents would spill out loudly, full of energy and jostling to be heard. I understood clearly how many sides there were to Ferne. She contains multitudes. Ferne had her start in the adult education program, which was housed at the old Central School. Teachers who shared that time with Ferne talked about how affected they were by her natural ability to welcome and make a place for students who were taking a big risk, to coming back to school, a place where, as young people, they invariably felt that they lived in the margins. Tracy Germa remembers that Ferne delivered a daily masterclass in kindness, understanding, and motivation. This was transformative for Tracy, who took Ferne's approach and made it the bedrock of her pedagogy. Pat Smith says that Ferne was instrumental in helping students to set higher goals, knowing how important it was to belong. Ferne edited a yearbook for the adult ed students. Ferne saw the whole person and thought about what they could try, not what they couldn't do. So many teachers wrote to say that Ferne took an authentic interest in their lives. Marianne Irwin writes that when she retired, knowing that she loved the outdoors, Ferne recommended a visit to one of her favorite spots in Manitoba, Riding Mountain National Park. It was an experience Marianne never would have had if Ferne had not gone out of her way to recommend it. She says that Ferne was someone who lived each day totally tuned into everyone and everything around her in a positive and helpful way. Cynthia Rankin remembers that Ferne was the only one in the school who knew that her 2-year-old son was hospitalized for nearly 2 weeks. How? She noticed that Cynthia was wearing the same clothes she had on the day before, having spent nights in the hospital. For every person who mentioned that Ferne took an interest in their lives, there were people who found out something about Ferne that changed their view of her. Doug Latham remembers that we teachers were asked to bring in an album that we enjoyed during our high school years. And Ferne brought in the Cheap Thrills album, which was Janis Joplin's second album with her band. I brought it in because I just wanted to say how this album is a testament to Janis Joplin's genius in terms of music, the art of Robert Crumb, and the wisdom of the great rock impresario Bill Graham. Doug said that seeing her album choice immediately took him back to his high school days, as he won that album at a school dance for yelling the loudest. Doug says that Ferne always appeared quite composed, and this choice showed more of the rebel side of her. In light of her rebel side, I do not think that Ferne would mind that Doug reminded me of the opening line to the album, as Bill Graham introduced Janis. She was one great, great broad. Dan Kavari wrote to say that early on, Ferne organized a workshop for the district GSAs through her connection with the Peterborough Reframe Film Festival. She brought in filmmakers and allies, and they created a series of short films that reflected their current lived experience in their homes and communities. This day was so important to Dan and the GSA, as it was the first time that all of the GSAs were to meet in person. The day allowed for so much interaction and connections for the queer student community. In the end, students were given the agency, the means, and a DVD collection of the short films that allowed them to express and communicate their stories to the wider world. Dan says that he can't begin to explain how important that day was for him as a queer teacher who tried for years to establish GSAs in KPR schools. Ferne provided an outstanding opportunity for students when she developed and taught the World Issues course. It was up-to-the-minute relevant. I'm thinking of her focus at one point on Africa. Chris Wiseman said that Ferne's influence on how he sees the world cannot be understated, and while he has had many great teachers in his life, she will forever be the one by whom the others are measured. Andy Craig wrote to say that Ferne opened his eyes and his social conscience to the world outside of Peterborough. She didn't just influence his understanding of how to build a better world, but even more fundamentally, that building a better world was something worth thinking about and striving for. Ferne introduced Andy to the idea of social justice, of solidarity, of colonialism, and its impacts on people around the world. And when Andy reflects on the ideas, values, and principles that are at the core part of who he is and what he believes in now, he can trace a clear line back to Ferne's influence through her World Issues class. Ferne was a model of how to live one's principles. Ferne's contributions were not just to the classroom. She hosted CAM's Sierra Leone theater tour, the Freetong Players, and coordinated a very strong fundraising effort to buy a generator that would allow the troupe to take their AIDS education work out to rural communities in Sierra Leone. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the trip that Ferne planned with Andrew Bigg and Cam Douglas to Sierra Leone circa 2003, a year after the Civil War ended. Andrew said it was a very difficult thing getting the trip okayed. They had been told no by the board, and as a consolation prize, they were invited to hear Stephen Lewis speak to student leaders. Lewis spoke about real development, and he mentioned several of the things that they had already done, as well as going to developing countries. After the speech, which had most of the audience in tears, they rushed up to the director of education, who had previously told them no, and reminded her of their proposal, and she agreed on the spot. Andrew said it was Ferne's wisdom and experience when they were planning and fundraising for the trip that made it all possible. Her tact and foresight were incredible. It must be obvious by now that Ferne was a Renaissance teacher. She made all of her classes and extracurriculars rich and vital with discovery. She invested her all, and at the center of it were the people she was teaching. Before I share memories of the ESL program, I want to say she also taught English and made sure that the books that students read and discussed were about a real world. One of Ferne's philosophies, I think, was that our role as teachers, as elders, was to prepare our students for an uncertain world, one that could be made better with love. I was given the opportunity to teach the ESL class for five weeks at the beginning of my career. I didn't have a clue what to do, and I thought that smiling nicely might be enough to get me through. It was a class in a classroom. A few years later, Ferne was asked if she would teach ESL. That class exploded into a program that grew and grew. She knew that smiling was not enough. She took the time to learn about culture, to find out about and include family, to reach out to the community, and to know where the student was in terms of their education. The boundaries of her class came down as she worked to provide her students with opportunities to learn in others' classrooms. Linda Hancock remembers that many of the students in the ESL program were transitioning from, at best, a world that was familiar, and at worst, one filled with horror, to a new world that was daunting and strange. Ferne created a welcoming, safe environment where they could land and stop the palpitations of the heart. Al Cook spoke to Ferne's tenacity as she advocated for her students. Ferne would politely wait her turn at guidance and ask if she could talk about a few kids' timetables. Of course, a few kids would often become 10 or 12 kids. And who would say no to bending the rules a bit so Ferne's charges had a better chance at success? PCVS ESL students absolutely knew they had a second mom, always looking out for them. I began by saying that PCVS asked us to be our best, and Ferne saw that too, especially during the battle to keep our school open. She, like so many of us, watched in awe as students mobilized to form Raiders in Action in order to, as Ferne said, persistently resist the closure of their beloved school. When Ferne embarked on a Master of Education program after she retired, she naturally chose to explore the school closing. In the introduction to her thesis, she wrote, "I hope that the qualitative research will add to the knowledge of young people's capabilities and rights to be seen as citizens, agents, and political beings." That is how she viewed students throughout her career. And not to end there, the playwright Madeline Brown writes that Ferne served as community consultant on the development and 2023 production of her play, Give 'Em Hell, which was inspired by the closure of PCVS and the student activism that arose as a result. Madeline remembers that every element of her support came out of love and care for the PCVS community. So now it's my turn. Ferne was a trickster. She could get you to do what you already said you wouldn't do. She came to see me one day about teaching a grade 12 academic ESL class as I was gulping down the last of my lunch before class. I said no several times, but by the time she left the room, I had a class list in my hand. I was very worried about how this could turn out academically, but Ferne was a gate opener, and she taught me how to open gates too. It was not only one of the best classes I taught, the students were inspirational. they taught me. Ferne was the person I turned to if I was writing something, often to the board or to the local newspaper. Ferne did not edit. She asked questions, hard questions, which forced me to question my own belief system. She knew how important it is to interrogate all thought from all angles. My thinking and writing were always better for it. Years ago, when I had an accident that I struggled greatly with in the aftermath, Ferne sent me a card and a journal. It was not a get well card, at least not in the traditional sense. She instead wrote that I should use the journal to scream at the unfairness of life, to shake my fist at the heavens, and to write down all of my anger and sorrow. She made me feel that I had a right to take arms against the sea of troubles. I'm forever grateful for that permission to be human. I've used that permission on several occasions. In closing, I would like to leave you with more words and thoughts from staff. She was a caring mama bear. She was the quietest, most ferocious tiger. She was tenacious, persistent, an advocate, and full of empathy. And now I'm tired of speaking in the past tense. She is, to misquote the title of a biography on John Donne, super infinite love. Thank you.
I'm Sidra Abdullah. Ferne was a part of a group that helped my family when we first came to Canada. From the very first day we arrived in Canada, Ferne was there. She stepped into our lives with open arms and a heart full of warmth, ready to help with anything and everything we needed. No matter what it was, Ferne showed up, ready to lend a hand, offer love, and make life in Canada easier for my family and me. She became so close to us that even a day or two without seeing her or hearing from her felt like something was missing. That's how deeply she mattered to us. Ferne had the purest heart. Her love for people was rare and beautiful, the kind that wrapped itself around everyone she met. She had a gift for making each person feel seen, valued, and cared for. Just being near her brought peace. She gave endlessly, never asking for anything in return, and her generosity was matched only by her kindness. Being around her felt safe. Being loved by her felt like home, and that's exactly what she became to us. Her goodness showed in everything she did. When my sister and her family arrived in Canada, Ferne welcomed them with the same open arms. She cared for my niece and nephews as if they were her own, taking them to the park, to activities, and filling their days with joy and warmth. She gave that same love to me and my sisters, always making sure we had what we needed, always showing up with kindness. Every Eid for 9 years, Ferne celebrated with us. She brought baskets of gifts to our door year after year, but those baskets were more than just presents. They were reminders that we were loved, remembered, and never alone. For a family far from home, those gestures meant everything. They made us feel like we truly belonged. Eid never passed without Ferne, and those memories will stay with us forever. There was something about Ferne, about the way Ferne spoke that stayed with you. Her voice, her words, especially her signature goodbye, sending hugs and love, became a kind of comfort I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Whenever I was struggling in school or felt like I couldn't achieve anything, Ferne's words always stayed with me. She'd say, "Just do what you can. You're already a star in my eyes." And somehow, that was exactly what I needed to hear. Her belief in me made things feel lighter. She reminded me that I didn't have to be perfect, I just had to try. That gave me the strength to keep me going, even when I didn't believe in myself. I just had to try. That gave me the strength, and, I'll never forget when she told me, "Sidra, I'm here for you every day. all day, anytime. That gave me the peace of mind and heart I needed most. She always knew what to say, and she gave it freely, with love that never asked for anything in return. Whenever someone at school asked who my role model was, Ferne, I'd say, I always said Ferne. Her heart, her love for people, her patience, her quiet strength, it was everything. Every time I sat down to write this letter, I couldn't do it. I kept putting it off because it was just too hard. How do you put someone like Ferne into words? The beautiful soul. What she's done for me and my family goes far beyond anything I could ever write. It's not just the memories, it's the way she made us feel, the way she showed up without fail, the way her love made everything feel lighter. I've tried to put it into words, but nothing ever feels enough. No matter how much I write, it still falls short. Ferne gave us comfort, guidance, and love in ways we'll carry with us forever. She wasn't just a friend, she was family. She was home. You will be deeply missed, Ferne. Sidra loves you. Abdullah's family love you. We always will. Thank you.
This part of the program had been given over to our dear friend Doug Cameron, who unfortunately cannot be here today. But he did send me something and asked me to read it for Ferne. And when I first came to Peterborough in the fall of 1976, Ferne was the first person I met. We were introduced by my dear friend, Mary Delaney. Ferne and Mary took me under their wing as though I was their younger brother and introduced me to Peterborough and to Trent. There was magic involved. Ferne asked if there was anywhere I wanted to go, and I mentioned the music shop I'd heard of where I was certain I would find the guitar of my dreams, a Gibson LG-1 from the 1950s. Ferne said that she knew where that was, and off we went. When I pushed open the door to Ed's music workshop, there it was, the guitar of my dreams, waiting for me. Ferne was a tireless champion of my attempts at songwriting and being a musician. At Christmas that year, she gave me a journal to write my songs in. It became a map of my fledgling attempts. Ferne believed in me and gave me the courage to step up and persevere and become a songwriter. I have that book to this day, and one of those songs in it is called The Roosevelt Hotel, which I wrote about an old guitar case that came with my beautiful old Gibson guitar. I'm sorry I'm not there to sing it with you today. I am so grateful to have known Ferne and to have been so close to her in those early Trent days. I am heartbroken, as we all are. Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans. Sticker was green as from out of a dream. I'll tell you what my old guitar case has been. Class clientele, sheets are all clean. Down at the Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans. I can still see the old men down in the lounge, watching the baseball and joking around. Cigar smoke so thick they could hardly see down at the Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans. You can dance, you can sing when the Mardi Gras comes. Stay out all night and have lots of fun. It's the homeliest hospice you've ever seen. Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans. San Francisco and Union Square, clean across the country to Delaware. Promulgating the American dream down at the Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans. You can dance, you can sing when the Mardi Gras comes. Stay out all night and have lots of fun. It's the homeliest hospice you've ever seen. Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans. Now you must understand, my song is secondhand. I've never been down to that sunny south land. But one thing's for sure, my guitar case has been to the Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans. You can dance, you can sing when the Mardi Gras comes. Stay out all night and have lots of fun. It's the homeliest hospice you've ever seen. Roosevelt Hotel in old New Orleans.
Doug Cameron.
Thank you. We didn't have to rehearse it.
That was excellent. Hello, everybody. Bonjour, Anin. Salam alaikum. Can I just ask, show of hands, how many of you had Ferne in your life as a teacher first? Keep your hands up and maybe take a look around. I think we can all agree that in life, just one great teacher will change your trajectory. And if you've been as blessed as I am, you've had many of those great teachers are here in this room, and Ferne was one of those educators for me. But I was never actually registered formally in any of her classes, ever. So let me tell you how that happened. If you were at the New Canadian Centre when Ferne got the Sister Ruth Hennessy Service Award, you've probably heard part of my story, so humor me. But when I first started at PCVS, I thought for sure I was going to be in the ESL program. I'd just been in Canada for 2 years. And when I went in to get assessed, I was told, nope, your language skills are good enough. You're going to go into the regular stream. And I freaked out, of course, even though I should have been really excited. I freaked out. School just got a lot harder. Homework just got a lot harder. Being on your own is scary. And as fate would have it, for much of my 5 years at PCVS, I was the last cohort to do grade 13. For much of my time at PCVS, my locker ended up being right next to the ESL room. So I would be teased and taunted with the sounds and the smells and the laughter that would come out of that magical classroom. And years would pass. I made it through high school thanks to incredible teachers and, the creator. And I actually graduated from PCVS, and after a while, I ended up going to Ferne. I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know where the road led me to Ferne, but I ended up going to her and telling her about my crisis of confidence. And she actually trusted me to go into her classroom as a student educator, and trusted me with the responsibility of supporting one of the students with special needs, something I didn't really know anything about, and I was so terrified. I knew that I had biases, but mostly I was so afraid of letting the student down and letting Ferne down. But with the gentle way that was Ferne Cristall, she taught, she coached, and she encouraged me. And by the end of my time in that classroom, I had, of course, my crisis of confidence was somewhat eased. I had made this great friend with this fun, smart, hardworking student. And I was reminded that somebody like Ferne believes in you, things aren't so bad. That wasn't the end of my encounter with Ferne. I had decided to put my name on the ballot for mayor. And Ferne was one of my first supporters in the quiet rooms with Linda Slavin and co. In the back rooms before I announced, Ferne was there ready to support me. And then I got elected, and in that first year of everything that could have gone wrong, going wrong, Ferne was kind and supportive throughout the disappointments, the ups and downs, the wins. She was there and guiding me and supporting me without judgment. And get this, my first seatmate in Parliament, the Honorable Jim Carr, was related to this great woman. And by the way, Jim's son, now the MP for the same riding, Ben Carr, sends his love and his condolences. My most constant memory of Ferne, though, is seeing her walking around downtown, walking around East City with her beloved Rob. And I swear to God, I still see her. I have days when I'm like, oh, there's Ferne, and because I forget. And I'm really sorry for your loss, Rob, and family, for everybody who loves her, for everybody who misses her. I think it's always gonna hurt. Nothing's gonna make it okay or make us forget. But I hope that in the hardest moments, in the most painful moments, you're reminded of the impact she's had on so many, particularly young people, particularly newcomer youth who are given a new start in life and then a supercharged opportunity in their new country with somebody like Ferne by their side. Thank you to everybody who brought us together here today. Ferne represents the very best of our community. May we live up to her expectations and her standards.
And one of the things I've thought long before this, but is that there's this false separation of thought and emotion, and people don't see emotional people as thinking people. If you're in a meeting and you feel so strongly about something that you cry, you're not making a good point when you could be making a brilliant point. And it's because, we separate those things. We don't ever see them as joined, or at least mainstream culture doesn't.
So what are you typing, Ferne?
I'm typing a letter of support for my very good student, Carol, wants to go to Trent University. Because she's going as a mature student, she needs a letter from a teacher. So that's what I'm doing. Having trouble finding the right words, so I'm going to go back.
Learning should be about gaining greater consciousness and social consciousness. Right. And it's not an objective process, and it's an emotional process, and it's not neutral. Right.
My mom, Ellie, always stood up for people and ideas she believed in. One time, Ellie even stood up in court for a young hitchhiking traveler who got arrested. Being a Jewish kid of an agnostic mother and an atheist father in a Christian town meant never having a Christmas tree. But our Christmas dinner table included international students Ellie would invite over, like Masako from Japan or Tildet from Turkey. For a small, fairly homogeneous town like Brandon, we had many friends from many cultures.
I know people think of me as an ESL person, but I came to teaching because I critiqued the media literacy document before it came out from the community perspective. Right. And so media criticism is my thing. Critical use studies really challenges the notion that youth are not citizenry with agency. And it's highly problematic, especially when decisions are being made where they should be the agents.
The first thing is, of course, to thank you guys. I've been totally incredulous. I transcribed the interviews and then I read them and then I read again, and they're all, every single one of them are incredible. Yeah, just so insightful and so amazing, just like you guys were and I guess are.
Before I was a teacher, I worked in a collective organization that it was an education organization that had a bookstore and films and a library and had information on international and national social issues. So, but we worked as a collective. What interests me about those ideas in terms of my work is the almost incredible spontaneous creativity and activism without a lot of conflict.
I feel I've made a small difference, and most of the work that I do with many other people in many other places, and it's all of us together, I think, that can create a more peaceful world.
Reframe is important. I think it can change lives. I think it can change lives on different levels. I think it can change lives of subjects who participate in these projects and get honored by them. And I think the filmmakers' lives get changed, for sure. And then the viewer. New ideas come up, connections come up. It can change a community. When you see something, lots of people stand up at the end of a film and want to know, what can we do about this? Goodness, the goodness of people really often emerges. It's like we're genetically wired for hope. Mary Oliver writes, said the river, imagine everything you can imagine, and then keep on going. Lots of love.
stand over.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah, it's working. During this last year, Jonah spent most of his time here in Peterborough, and Rob and Ferne bought him a new piano so he could continue his work as a musician, but also so that he could play for the pleasure of his family. Over the months, he gradually learned a collection of short pieces by Chick Corea called children's songs. The repeated hypnotic patterns provided something to get a bit lost in. When Ferne went into hospice, I began learning Fauré's Elegy, a solemn piece containing a mournful cello melody. I found it grounded me in that time of grieving and sadness. Over the summer, in honor of Ferne's love of collaboration, Jonah and I began layering these pieces, steeped in meaning for both of us, together. We'd like you to join us in introducing this piece by humming an F for Ferne. You may not think of yourself as a singer, but we hope you'll be comfortable blending your voice gently with the people around you. Our friend Susan Newman will be your guide.
Yes, as Joy was saying, we're singing F. We're humming F for Ferne. So please join in. And if you can watch me, we won't be humming our F throughout the whole piece. So at a certain point, we will just stop.
Oh no. Dear friends and family of Ferne, thank you for all the ways you shaped this wonderful person that became a truly dear friend of mine. I can't thank you enough for how you held her this past year in life and how you hold her now in her passing with this beautiful ceremony, thoughtful gestures, and joyful memories. For those who don't know me, my name is Amy, and I had the honor of being creative director of the Reframe Film Festival from 2018 to 2023. I met Ferne for the first time at my interview. She wouldn't have known then it was my birthday, and that I felt a cosmic shift when I dipped my feet in the water at Little Lake beforehand, blocks from her home. I left the interview telling my partner, well, there was 1 out of 3 who got me. If she has anything to do with it, I think I stand a chance at getting the job. I am eternally grateful to have found in Ferne a kindred soul. She shared so much with me, sitting in her kitchen for hours, talking about our friends we loved so desperately, the particular bent to Jewish socialism, our families, people we've lost, this world we were sure could become a better place. And of course, Reframe, a festival that she nurtured for so many years as a programmer, board member, collective member, dedicated volunteer, champion, and ambassador. One of the most beloved parts of my job at Reframe was participating in programming meetings. Composed of Ferne and myself and invested community members, we would gather as a group to discuss the films under consideration. Ferne would arrive without fail, the only person who was caught up completely, her lined notebook teeming with handwritten paragraphs about every single film on the list. To be clear, most people on the committee took on 1 or 2 categories and watched a handful of films. Ferne watched every single film that was submitted to the festival, hundreds every year. She would watch even the most challenging or terrible or amateur or brilliant films with the same serious deliberation. Her dedication to the work was unwavering. Oftentimes, we were aligned in our opinions, but it was much more fun when we would have disagreements, clashing and debating with fervor, along with mutual respect and admiration. Ferne was passionate about film in the same way as me, as cinephiles and educators equally, something I've discovered is rare. Reframe is special because it connects the subjects of films with local groups doing the work on the ground. She thought a lot about how a particular film could work to galvanize people here in Ngojuanang specifically. In my first year on the job, a young local filmmaker made a film documenting the global youth environmental movement. Ferne immediately started brainstorming ways we could connect with local youth and insisted I meet Cam Douglas, a teacher who had just started an amazing high school program focused on sustainability. Mere weeks later, we had all worked together to find funds to create digital storytelling workshops for his class. Those films showed at Reframe that year. That was Ferne, striving to foster meaningful engagement, opportunities for local communities to expand their field of experience, to engage more deeply with the work of telling truths and weaving justice. I know we didn't believe we were changing the world with Reframe, but I know for sure we believed that whether heart-soothing or heartbreaking, film was a particular type of love worth fighting for, and that this was a process we could devote thousands of hours to without regret. Despite my at times paralyzing anxiety about curation, I never felt alone because I could count on her loyalty without fail. I know many of you have been held and buoyed by that unyielding Ferne faithfulness, and if you haven't, may that uncanny tenderness find you in this lifetime. I believe that we understood each other on a molecular level, and our paths crossed in many synchronistic ways, For example, I found out Ferne lived in Toronto on Bain Avenue in the Co-op, and I grew up on Bain Avenue, just steps away. When I wrote my dad's obituary, I sent it to Ferne, and it turned out her mother was born on the exact same day, in the exact same year, to a Jewish family of the exact same size. She wrote to me and said, "Perhaps she was some kind of beyond biological twin with your dad, and I say so because of their joie de vivre, empathy, and passionate commitment to social justice. Perhaps it helps me understand why, since the moment I met you, I felt an inexplicable connection. I believe we were born of the same feisty star and feel lucky to have found a piece of my celestial family." I met Ferne at a particularly tender time in my life, when I was learning to find my way without familial support or guidance. And I, like so many people here, became a little more healed and a little more strong in her home. By her infinite understanding, her most judgmental ear, her insistence on having just a little piece of chocolate as you chat, because sweet treats help everything. Ferne never asked for anything in return for her generosities. Not recognition, not center stage, God forbid. Definitely not money, not things. Once I casually asked her about the particular brand of heating pad she kept on her chair, and it arrived in my mailbox the next week. Ferne continues to be my teacher in how to give selflessly. Shortly after my time at Reframe, I saw a job call for a professor in community-engaged media and decided to throw my hat in the ring. I asked Ferne to be a reference. Her letter was not your typical academic vote of confidence. Instead, Ferne described me, and I quote, "My image of Amy is as a heart mind," one word. Picture it, a big brain curled up and cozy inside a humongous heart working in tandem. She asked if she should change it to be more academic. And I considered that and then decided, to hell with that. If an institution can't appreciate the thoughtfulness and care my collaborator put into articulating our work together, of all things, making a social justice film festival come to life, I don't want to be there anyway. It is no surprise that it was the Dean of Education, not my fellow media studies professors, who flagged my file for the rest of the team. He told me that letter spoke to him. It's hard to believe how much I changed by Ferne's side. The confidence to do public speaking, curating, teaching, simply taking up space. Ferne modeled how quiet gifts and political convictions are worth celebrating, that they are valuable and important, and I will be forever indebted. As a last offering, I wanted to read a poem to all the people here hurting with the loss of our friend, mother, wife, family member. Ferne sent this to me when I was awash in the depths of grief, because these are words that provided her with solace. The poem is For Grief by John O'Donohue. When you lose someone you love, your life becomes strange. The ground beneath you gets fragile. Your thoughts make your eyes unsure, and some dead echo drags your voice down where words have no confidence. Your heart has grown heavy with loss. And though this loss has wounded others too, no one knows what has been taken from you when the silence of absence deepens. Flickers of guilt kindle regret for all that was left unsaid or undone. There are days when you wake up happy, again inside the fullness of life, until the moment breaks and you are thrown back onto the black tide of loss. Days when you have your heart back, you are able to function well, until in the middle of work or encounter, suddenly with no warning, you are ambushed by grief. It becomes hard to trust yourself. All you can depend on now is that sorrow will remain faithful to itself. More than you, it knows its way and will find the right time to pull and pull the rope of grief until that coiled hill of tears has reduced to its last drop. Gradually, you will learn acquaintance with the invisible form of your departed, and when the work of grief is done, the wound of loss will heal, and you will have learned to wean your eyes from that gap in the air and be able to enter the hearth in your soul where your loved one has awaited your return all the time. Thank you all again to Rob for inviting me to speak, and thank you, Ferne. You will always live in the hearth of my soul. I know that you are close and that you would truly loathe all of this attention. Thank you.
How about that one?
Well, they've been used.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's so many of you. I'm so pleased to be here and to have been invited by Rob and the children. It is my greatest honor to be able to tell you a little bit about my Ferne. I met Ferne 45 years ago when Debbie Field took me to DEC. I knew her through that community, but I also knew her because my parents-in-law were communists in the Communist Party at the same time that Ferne's aunt and uncle were. And we used to socialize with her aunt and uncle. And then I finally knew Ferne as a mentor, and as I say in this tribute, as my keeper. On March 15th, 2022, I had a dream, and I made notes about it. Ferne and Rob were riding down a steep hill. Rob went first on a real horse. Then Ferne came on a large rocking horse. She was going so fast, and then the horse didn't make the jump. Ferne was fine, of course. I was in shock. I felt inadequate because I knew I could never master the courage to ride a wooden rocking horse, and never that fast. My dream says it all for me. Ferne had the courage to quickly make all lives fulfill their dreams and withstand shape-shifting demons, as many of you have said so eloquently today. Ferne and I shared many dreams, but we also shared 2 lymphoma with our dear friend, Amy Gottlieb, and Ferne and I, squamous cell carcinoma. Ferne's courage is the subject of Fairy is My Keeper, a tribute poem I wrote for her. Bátorság is the beautiful Hungarian word for courage, but Fairy is a lot easier to say and takes courage into a more crucial identity. Fairy is the diminutive form of the Hungarian name Ferenc, or Francis, inferring the identity of Francis, or free one. Here we all are, freeing those who have been ferried to and fro in honor of Ferne. Fairy is my keeper, part 1. Fairy died. Fairy had been born in 1933. Quietly, Fairy moved into the next century. She found ways to collapse the hours, even the days. Reason was she had a serious question, a question verging on the ordinary, but one that left us all in a paradox. This or that, said Fairy. In her most sanguine moment, she asked, how can I remember all of them and yet also forget what hurts? Forget about what, Fairy? I asked. But I was just thinking out loud, as I often did when Fairy flew in. She replied, the broken kisses, the kisses that broke when love encountered deeper sorrows. When you died, I whispered, Ferne. Part 2. The morning Fairy crossed over, my grammar was flimsy, and the grass had been mowed too quickly. The grass was cropped. The cropped grass was too short for both badgers and slugs, for gray mice and for lice. The lawn had been scalped, we agreed. Fairy knew this would be okay. Scalped, it was easier to see the enemy, the renegade cells in their crude porridge of blood and mucus. This may have meant there was nowhere to hide, even though our steps made tapping sounds on the stairs as she climbed. She was walking with me to ensure, as Jim just did, that I had my balance, that I could endure. We could hear the rhythm and see the tones, from deluxe blue turquoise tones to faceless neutral tones. Fairy carried her love in her arms, ready to hand out when someone passed by her. Her spread fell outside the rubric of love and hate, but never settled on the middle ground. Why do that, she asked me. Part 3. The green grasses grew again, the ferns, the bracken, the mosses, even puffballs, but especially the ferns pushed away the shade and broke into a chorus of silences. The silences cuddled her children with fronds from a fern that was ubiquitous. It would last. It is here now. I can see it and smell it. Silence is as a constant urge. Urge, says Fairy, urges us to resist the final conclusion and asks us to split leaves as we do, as we find a way. Time passed. We all found a way to love the departure, Fairy's exquisite departure, leaving a path of heart-shaped leaves behind so that her beloved would know how to find her again, as if he wouldn't know. Hearts and fans ferried across, ferrying ginkgo and bonsai shapes, the profound endurance of trees that endure and families. Thank you.
I see where they keep the Kleenex up here. Gary Cristall. I'm Gary Cristall. I'm Ferne's cousin, friend, and comrade. Let no one restrain you. Your life's no measly stuff. Gulp it by the gallon. When death extends its talon, you won't have drunk enough. appropriate words for the way Ferne lived her life, refusing to bend right to the end. I often quote Bertolt Brecht, the revolutionary German poet and playwright, when I make speeches, presentations. Brecht said many wise things. That one is relevant to the life of my cousin Ferne. It's from Mahagoni. Brecht also wrote about his socialist companions. We who wish to build a world of kindness could not ourselves be kind. That proves that Herr Brecht had never met my cousin Ferne. Ferne Cristall was exactly the opposite. She, who wanted to build a world of kindness, was herself a model of how kind that world could, would, should, and will be. In fact, the main quality I and many others associate with her is her kindness. You can think about your time with her, and I hope this resonates. That quality carried through her personal, professional, and political life. It was a unifying cord that bound those components of her existence together and made them a coherent whole. I was in Montreal a short time ago and mentioned Ferne to an old friend and comrade. I didn't realize she had met Ferne. I can't remember how and when. She remarked what impressed her most about Ferne was her kindness. I was shocked, having already thought about these remarks. My adult recollections of Ferne begin when she and Janet Lum, students at Trent, showed up at my door in Vancouver to crash on my floor in 1975 or 76. It was the beginning of a close relationship as adults that lasted for the next 50 years. We never saw all that much of each other, but we never lost contact. She blessed me with acts of kindness. She came back from Guatemala, where she had traveled in the company of a 6'2" blonde Amazon, I recall. I believe it was her first political activism. She brought me a gift, a record by Los Guaraguao from Venezuela, led by Ali Primera, author of Casas de Cartón, Houses of Cardboard. She knew I was passionate about Latin American music and had lugged this album around on Guatemalan buses and God knows what else to bring it back to me. For my 50th birthday, she created a collage based on a daily newspaper of the day I was born and the other things that she had created around it, a lovely thing. We shared a commitment to socialist politics and saw that as a family heirloom we inherited from several generations that preceded us. In the late 70s, I tried to recruit her to the Revolutionary Marxist group, but DEC, the Development Education Center, got her instead. It was probably for the better. In 1983, when her first book, a wonderful collection of photos and texts, Getting There, there's one of them out there, I suggest you look at it, suggest you buy one, about immigrant women came out. She sent me a copy, and the inscription she wrote, Gary Eric, to getting there to the new system. It combines the title of the book with the name of our family store in Brandon, if you should have to be looking for work clothes on Rosser Avenue, a metaphor coined by our grandfather for his hopes for that world of kindness. That vision was something we shared, and that dedication, too, is a kindness. The book itself is a wonderfully humane body of work, another act of kindness. It was published by Between the Lines, the DEC publishing house that has been mentioned. And there she met a guy, Rob Clark, who she would spend the rest of her life with, who she would bask in the love of and return that love for the next 40-odd years. Another book from Between the Lines to track down, if you should be interested. Another expression of socialist politics is kindness is Wild Garden, Art, Education, and the Culture of Resistance. It's credited to Diane Moreno, Ferne Cristall, et al. I don't know who et al. Is, but Diane worked on Getting There with Ferne and Deborah Brandt. She was an artist. She died tragically young, and Ferne was among those who made sure her work was known, and by doing so, made her immortal. There are dozens, God knows how many, projects, great and small, that testify to Ferne's activism, socialism, kindness, commitment, her contribution to building that world of kindness. Many of you here today know them far, far better than I. Many of them are reflected in her relationships with her friends and family, her love for Rob, Gabe, Jonah, Pete, and Alec. I know this personally. When I brought a new relationship into the orbit of my family, Ferne was among the most embracing and, yes, kind. Dave Van Ronk, best known as a blues singer, also wrote a love song called Another Time and Place. I believe there are many here among us who identify with Dave's declaration that a thought came to my mind, I'd never seen a kinder face, or warmer laugh and gentler smile, or eyes so full of light. And there are more than a few here who would agree with Dave in that song that I'd trade a year of heaven for a day with you, my dear. The Kleenex is here if you need it. Others involve her students, for whom she fought with the tenacity of a mother tiger, or a dozen other projects to which she brought her energy, commitment, and smarts. In every aspect of her life, as activist, mother, teacher, organizer, lover, and woman, Ferne both walked the walk and talked the talk. She was unusual for being less characterized by her contradictions and more organically whole than many of us. She embraced life with a passion in every aspect. The sheer volume of this event is proof of that. Ferne was a Jew, embracing the culture of Jewish radicalism, which goes back to Spinoza and before, and Marx and Engels and beyond, including Rosa Luxemburg, Emma Goldman, Walter Benjamin, Noam Chomsky, Naomi Klein, and dozens more. There is a concept in Jewish culture called tikkun olam, healing the world. Ferne embraced that mission and devoted much of her life to it. One of the last photos I have seen is my cousin with a big grin carrying a sign with the Star of David and the words, "Not in my name," the cry of Jews denouncing Zionism and the genocide in Gaza and the rest of Palestine. So Brecht was wrong. You can be a fighter for a world of kindness and yourself be kind. And that kindness lives on in the people Ferne touched in one way or another. You. In the Latin American left, there is a tradition for honoring the dead. The first speaker did a little bit of it, and I propose we follow it here. I will call out her name, Ferne Cristall, and you, if you choose, will respond, presente, means here. Then I call out ahora, which means now, and you respond, y siempre, and forever. In that way, we honor her memory and her spirit, okay? Let's do it. Ferne Cristall. Ahora y siempre. Thank you.
Check one. Gary Cristall reminded me, another quotation from Brecht. Master, will there be singing in these dark times? The master says, yes, there will be singing about the dark times. So let's sing some songs. I hope you will, some of these will be familiar to you, and I hope you join us.
It's all right.
Jim's working like a dog here, and now he's going to have to sing, too. Kept this thing running beautifully smoothly, Jim.
Not a chance.
He's got it coming.
Haven't heard that this morning.
Who said that? Who said that?
It's Peter.
Is Doug Cameron in the...
Just because there's a music stand here doesn't mean we don't know it.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Brandon, I'm going to go over to this mic.
Was it something I said?
This is not my guitar.
What's the matter?
It came off.
Oh, it's just tight.
Sorry. While I'm playing with this, I just want to tell you that we have been playing music for Ferne for about the last year at her house. We would go over to her house every week and play music for her. And these are some of her favorite songs that we played for her. And this first song we're going to do, whoops, did I just hit you in the teeth? No. It's been a long day. Ferne and Rob had I think a passion would not be the wrong word, for Emmylou Harris. So much so they named a dog after Emmylou. Anyway, this is an Emmylou Harris song.
I don't want to hear a love song. I got on this airplane just to fly, and I know there's life below me, but all that you can show me is the prairie and the sky. And I don't want to hear a sad story full of heartbreak and desire. The last time I felt like this, I was in the wilderness, and the canyon was on fire, and I stood on the mountain in the night, and I watched it burn. I watched it burn. I watched it burn. I would rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. I would hold my life in His saving grace. I would walk all the way from Boulder to Birmingham if I thought I could see your face. Well, you really got me this time, and the hardest part is knowing I'll survive. I've come to listen for the sound of the trucks as they move down on 95, and pretend that it's the ocean coming down to wash me clean, to wash me clean. Baby, do you know what I Birmingham. If I thought I could see your face, I would rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. I would hold my life in His saving grace. I would walk all the way from Boulder to Birmingham. If I thought I could see your face. If I thought I could see your face.
If you introduce an accordion in Act 1,
You have to shoot it in Act 2.
and half your audience leaves.
What a device.
We held the accordion off till the end.
Yeah, we didn't want a mass exodus.
This has been a beautiful day. Part of me never wants this to end. I don't want this day to stop because there's other things that have to happen then. Anyway. There's something in your eyes makes me want to lose myself. Makes me want to lose myself in your arms. And something in your voice makes my heart beat fast. Hope this feeling lasts the rest of my life. If you knew how lonely my life has been, and how low I've felt for so long. If you knew how I wanted someone to come along and change my life the way you've done. Feels like home to me. It feels like home to me. Feels like I'm all the way back where I come from. Feels like home to me. It feels like home to me. Feels like I'm all the way back where I belong. A window breaks down a long dark street, and a siren wails in the night. But I'm alright, I have you here with me, and I can almost see through dark there's light. If you knew how much this moment means to me, and how long I've waited for your touch. If you knew how happy you are making me, oh, I never thought I'd love anyone so much. Feels like home to me. Feels like home to me. Feels like I'm all the way back where I come from. Feels like home to me. Feels like home to me. Feels like I'm all the way back where I'm from. Feels like I'm all the way back where I belong. I think all songs are, in their own way, political, but this song is definitely political. And this song was written in 1948. I learned it in 1978, around the same time that I met Ferne. And Ferne heard us sing this song many times over the years. And it seems, sadly, more relevant today than ever before. If you know the words, please sing along. Crops are all in, the peaches are rotting, the oranges are piled in their creosote done. They're flying you back to the Mexico border, pay all the money just to wade back again. My father's own father, he waded that river, paid all the money he made in his life. My brothers and sisters come work in the fruit trees, they rode the trucks till they took down and died. Goodbye, my Juan, goodbye, Rosalita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus and Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be deportee. Now some of us are illegal and others not wanted. We work contracts out and we have to move on. 600 miles to the Mexico border. They chase us like outlaws, like rustlers and thieves. We died in your fields and we died on your deserts. We died in your valleys, we died on your plains. We died in your trees and we died on your bushes. Both sides of the river, we died just the same. Goodbye, my Juan, goodbye, Rosalita, adios, mis amigos, Jesus and Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be deportee. Now a sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon. Like a fireball of lightning, it shook all our hills. And who are these friends all scattered like dry leaves? Radio says they are just deportees. Now is this the best way we can grow our big orchards? And is this the best way we can grow out the fruit? To fall like dry leaves and rot on your topsoil and be known by no name except deportee. Goodbye, my Juan, goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus and Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be deportees. Goodbye, my Juan, goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus and Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the big airplane. All they will call you will be deportees. Thank you.
Thanks.
So I have the job of concluding this beautiful celebration to Ferne. A special thanks goes to all the wonderful people who are from different aspects of Ferne's life who've contributed to this program, and all of you who have come from far and near to celebrate our beautiful friend, mother, partner, cousins, brothers, everyone. Thank you. Also a special thanks to the staff of Market Hall. They've been just incredible at helping to facilitate this program and make it simple for everyone. I'm not going to say specific thank yous to everyone because you have all made this day. Thank you again. Ferne always gave a hug, so I want you to be kind to yourself and give yourself a hug. Now, there's always housekeeping. And I'm also the housekeeper here, so I invite everyone to make their way to the Canoe Museum for 5:30. Ferne's family will be heading out directly after I finish here, but don't worry, there will be time to speak with them at the Market Hall. The Canoe Museum will not open the doors until just after 5:30. If the weather is good, and that means if it's not raining, so if it's windy or something, that's okay. Chester Babcock will be playing outside the Canoe Museum starting at 5, just east of the front doors. And if it's raining, do time your arrival accordingly around 5:30, and that's when the doors will open. Let me repeat that, 5:30, okay? Ferne's walk will begin around 5:45. So once you enter the Canoe Museum, I want you to make your way towards the stairs. It'll all make sense when you get over there if you haven't been. Don't forget to sign the guest book and grab a name tag, because it's always easier for us when we can go blank and can't remember somebody's name if you have a nice tag on. Now, food. Ferne would never have an occasion without food, and there will be plenty of food. So come with, your tummy's ready to eat, and that will begin around 6. One last thing, there's a limited parking right in front of the museum, but just behind to the east off Ashburnham, there is a huge parking lot, and you'll see soccer pitches and things. Park there, and it's only about a 100-meter walk from there. But if you have trouble walking, get somebody to drop you off at the front, and there are some seats there as well. Again, on behalf of everyone who contributed today, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you at the Canoe Museum.